5. 12 hours. Persian Gulf. A U.S. Navy aircraft carrier cuts through dark water. Around it, 4 destroyers hold formation. Above, an E-2 Hawkeye surveillance aircraft circles at 25,000 feet. Everything looks routine. Inside the carrier's sonar room, a technician freezes. He hears it. Faint, metallic, rhythmic, propeller cavitation. He isolates the frequency. The pattern sharpens. Then another signal appears. Different blade spacing, different acoustic signature. 2 submarines. He scans again. A third contact emerges from the noise floor. 3 Iranian diesel-electric submarines, already inside the defensive perimeter. The supervisor steps closer. Repeat classification. The computer matches the acoustic profiles. Iranian Kilo-class submarines, all 3 converging on the carrier. On the tactical display, 3 red icons appear beneath the blue formation. The strike group commander studies the geometry. The submarines aren't drifting, they're positioning. One slides toward the carrier's port side. Another moves starboard. The third lingers astern. It's a triangle, a classic ambush formation designed to trap a high-value target from multiple attack vectors. The supervisor keys the comm line. Bridge, sonar, multiple hostile submarine contacts confirmed. 3 subs maneuvering inside perimeter. How close? Within firing range. The alarm erupts across the carrier. General quarters. Hatches slam. Weapon systems power online. Throughout the strike group, destroyers accelerate into defensive positions. But beneath the surface, the Iranian submarines have already reached their attack positions. Inside the lead submarine, the torpedo officer watches the targeting solution lock. Range optimal. Bearing confirmed. Target acquired. The captain nods. Prepare tubes. Metal doors slide open. Compressed air hisses. Cold seawater floods the launch chambers. Above them, the aircraft carrier continues forward, unaware that 3 torpedo tubes are aimed directly at its hull. Inside the sonar room, a new sound tears through the technician's headphones. Torpedo launch! Then another, and another. 3 explosive launch signatures light up the display. 3 torpedoes accelerating through the water, all converging on the carrier. Impact time, less than 2 minutes. Torpedo inbound! The shout cuts through the carrier's combat information center. Every screen flashes red. 3 threat lines streak across the tactical display. The officer of the deck reacts instantly. Hard rudder, full power. Deep beneath the carrier, the propulsion shafts surge. Massive turbines drive the propellers harder. The aircraft carrier begins to turn. Not quickly. Nothing this large ever turns quickly. But even a slight change in course can mean survival. Across the strike group, escort ships shift from patrol to full combat response. On the destroyer guarding the carrier's port flank, the anti-submarine warfare officer studies the torpedo tracks. 3 incoming weapons, 3 different vectors, perfectly converging. Deploy acoustic countermeasures. Cylindrical decoy devices eject from launch tubes and splash into the water. They sink rapidly, then activate. The ocean fills with noise. Artificial propeller signatures roar beneath the waves. Simulated engines, false cavitation patterns. Electronic echoes designed to mimic a massive ship's acoustic footprint. To a torpedo's guidance system, these decoys look like new targets, but the incoming weapons keep coming. Inside the Iranian submarines, the torpedo operators watch their tracking displays. The torpedoes detect the decoys immediately. But beyond the interference, one signal remains overwhelmingly strong: the carrier. A vessel this massive produces an enormous acoustic signature. Even in a sea filled with decoys, the carrier still sounds like a thunderstorm underwater. The torpedoes maintain course. Above the ocean, helicopters roar off destroyer decks. Within seconds, they're racing low across the waves. Each aircraft carries a full anti-submarine loadout. Sonar buoys, torpedoes, depth charges. As the helicopters approach the suspected submarine locations, crews deploy sonar buoys in rapid sequence. Small floating sensors splash into the ocean, one after another. A listening network forms across the sea. Back in the carrier's sonar room, new signals arrive instantly. 3 submarine contacts, still moving, still close. The helicopters begin narrowing the search grid. One pilot leans toward his display. There, contact confirmed. Submarine directly below. Prepare depth charges. Back aboard the carrier, the torpedo tracking screen continues counting down. Distance closing rapidly. 90 seconds. The torpedoes are now deep inside the strike group's perimeter. Decoys not diverting. The destroyer captain makes a decision. Deploy anti-torpedo interceptor. From the destroyer's side, a compact launcher fires. A small defensive torpedo rockets into the sea. Unlike traditional weapons, this interceptor doesn't target ships. It hunts other torpedoes. The weapon accelerates beneath the water, racing toward the nearest incoming threat. Seconds pass. On the sonar display, two signals converge. Then, a violent underwater explosion erupts. The first incoming torpedo disappears instantly, destroyed. But two more remain, still racing toward the carrier. Above the submarines, helicopters attack. Depth charges fall into the ocean. A moment later, the sea detonates. Shock waves ripple through the water. Inside one Iranian submarine, the hull shudders violently. Lights flicker. Crew members brace against steel walls. The captain grips the console. Maintain course. Above him, helicopters circle back for another attack run. Meanwhile, inside the carrier's combat center, the second torpedo suddenly begins to drift. The acoustic decoys are finally working. The weapon's guidance system detects multiple targets. For a brief moment, it hesitates. Then it turns. The torpedo veers sharply away from the carrier's hull and locks onto one of the decoys. Seconds later, another explosion. The decoy disappears in a plume of bubbles. The second torpedo is gone. But the third torpedo is different. It has ignored every decoy. It has ignored every interference signal. And it's still coming. Fast. Very fast. On the tactical display, the final red line points straight toward the carrier. Distance, 500 meters. 400. 300. Final torpedo still tracking carrier. Around the strike group, ships maneuver violently. Helicopters roar overhead. The ocean churns with countermeasures and explosions. But beneath the chaos, the final torpedo continues its deadly run. Distance, 250 meters. On the bridge, the captain keeps his voice steady. Maintain turn. The massive ship continues pivoting. Its propellers churn the ocean into boiling white wake. Every meter of movement matters. Back in the combat center, a new order is issued. Activate acoustic jammer. Beneath the carrier's hull, a powerful electronic countermeasure system comes online. The device floods the surrounding ocean with intense acoustic interference. To the torpedo's guidance system, the ocean suddenly becomes chaos. False echoes, distorted frequencies, overlapping signals. But the torpedo continues. Distance, 200 meters. Inside the sonar room, the technician listens carefully. The torpedo's propulsion whine cuts through the interference like a blade. Still tracking carrier, 180 meters, 170. The jammer intensifies. For a moment, the torpedo's signal flickers. Just briefly, the weapon's guidance system struggles to process the conflicting acoustic environment. For the first time since launch, the torpedo hesitates. Distance, 150 meters. Inside the torpedo itself, the onboard computer begins recalculating. The carrier's signature is still the strongest signal in the water, but now it's surrounded by layers of interference. The torpedo adjusts its algorithm. It pushes forward again, 130 meters. The carrier's engines roar. Helicopters circle above. Destroyers close distance. But none of them can reach the torpedo in time. 100 meters. Inside the nearest destroyer, the anti-torpedo operator watches the incoming threat. This is the last chance. Launch interceptor. A second defensive torpedo fires from the destroyer's hull. The weapon plunges into the sea and accelerates immediately. Now two weapons race toward each other beneath the surface. The incoming torpedo continues toward the carrier. The interceptor hunts the torpedo. Distance between them shrinks rapidly. 80 meters from the carrier. 70. 60. Inside the combat center, the sonar screen shows two fast-moving signals converging. The room holds its breath. 50 meters. 40. 30. Then a violent underwater explosion tears through the ocean. The shockwave slams through the water with enormous force. Above the surface, the sea erupts into a towering column of foam and spray. Inside the carrier, the hull shudders from the distant blast. For several seconds, every sonar screen fills with static. White noise floods the systems. No one speaks. Then the interference clears. The torpedo track is gone. The interceptor destroyed it. The aircraft carrier survives. But the battle beneath the surface is far from over, because the sonar screen still shows 3 contacts. 3 Iranian submarines still moving beneath the strike group. And now the strike group knows exactly where they are. The defense phase is over. Now the hunt begins. The moment the final torpedo disappears from the tactical display, the atmosphere changes instantly. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, the commander studies the sonar screen. 3 submarine contacts remain beneath the ocean. Their positions are no longer uncertain. The attack gave them away. Every torpedo launch leaves a trace. Pressure waves, acoustic signatures, disturbances in the water that trained sonar operators can follow. Now the submarines are exposed. The order is simple. Engage hostile submarines. Across the strike group, anti-submarine warfare systems move into full pursuit. Above the ocean, helicopters descend lower toward the surface. Their dipping sonar systems begin sweeping the water directly beneath them. The pilot holds position. Seconds later, the sonar operator hears it. A clear metallic echo. Submarine hull. Range close, very close. Contact confirmed. Submarine bearing 210. The helicopter immediately prepares its weapon. A lightweight anti-submarine torpedo drops from the aircraft and splashes into the ocean. Within seconds, the weapon activates. The torpedo's onboard sonar begins searching. Below the surface, the Iranian submarine hears it. Inside the control room, the sonar operator stiffens. A new sound echoes through the hull, a high-frequency pulse. Then, the unmistakable whine of a torpedo propulsion system. The captain reacts instantly. Evasive maneuver. The submarine tilts sharply as the crew attempts to dive deeper. But diesel-electric submarines have limitations. They're extremely quiet, but they're not fast. The incoming torpedo locks onto the submarine's acoustic signature. It closes the distance rapidly. Seconds later, a massive underwater explosion tears through the ocean. Above the surface, the water erupts in a violent plume of foam and bubbles. The sonar screens aboard the strike group update. The first submarine contact disappears, destroyed. But 2 more remain. One of the remaining submarines attempts to escape the strike group's perimeter. It turns sharply south, increasing speed. Inside the submarine, the captain hopes the confusion of battle will create a narrow escape window. But the strike group is already closing the trap. A guided missile destroyer accelerates toward the submarine's escape route. Its sonar array locks onto the target almost immediately. Launch torpedo! A powerful anti-submarine weapon fires from the ship and plunges into the ocean. The torpedo begins hunting. Inside the Iranian submarine, the sonar operator hears it within seconds. Another incoming weapon. The captain deploys countermeasures, acoustic decoys designed to lure the torpedo away. But the destroyer's weapon uses advanced guidance. It analyzes the acoustic environment, ignoring the decoys. The torpedo locks onto the real target. There's nowhere left to run. Moments later, a second violent detonation shakes the ocean. On the strike group's tactical display, the second submarine contact vanishes. 2 submarines destroyed. 1 remains. The final Iranian submarine dives rapidly toward the seabed. Its captain orders all engines cut. The vessel becomes silent, completely motionless. On sonar displays, the submarine nearly disappears. The crew hopes the ocean floor will hide them. For several minutes, the water grows quiet again. Helicopters circle above, scanning the sea. Sonar operators search for the faintest sound. Then one helicopter crew notices something. A subtle disturbance, metal shifting, a barely detectable acoustic trace. Possible contact bearing 090. Another sonar buoy drops into the water. Seconds later, the signal becomes clear. The submarine is still there, trying to remain hidden, but it's been found. The helicopter crew prepares their final weapon. A torpedo falls into the sea. Below the surface, it activates instantly. The weapon sweeps the seabed with active sonar. The hidden submarine appears clearly in its sensors. There's no escape. Seconds later, the ocean erupts one final time. A massive underwater explosion rolls across the seafloor. The third submarine contact disappears from every sonar screen. 3 submarines attacked. Now all 3 are gone. For several seconds after the final explosion, the ocean becomes strangely quiet. The towering column of water collapses back into the sea. Foam spreads across the surface, slowly dissolving into dark blue water. Inside the aircraft carrier's Combat Information Center, every sonar operator watches their screens closely. The displays update. One submarine contact disappears, then another. Confirmation arrives. No propulsion noise, no hull resonance, no movement beneath the surface. The third submarine is gone. Across the strike group's tactical display, the red icons that had appeared earlier are no longer there. Only blue symbols remain. The commander studies the screen carefully before speaking. Maintain sonar sweep. No one relaxes yet. Underwater combat rarely ends instantly. Submarines are designed to disappear into the ocean's depths. Experienced commanders know that silence doesn't always mean safety. Helicopters continue circling. Their rotors slice through the air as crews deploy additional sonar buoys into the water. One by one, the small floating sensors splash down, expanding the listening network. Inside the sonar room aboard the carrier, technicians monitor the incoming data streams. Each buoy transmits acoustic information back to the ships. The operators listen for anything unusual. Minutes pass. Nothing appears. No propellers, no cavitation, no movement. Only the distant echo of the strike group's own engines reverberating through the water. On the carrier's bridge, the captain studies the calm sea stretching to the horizon. Just minutes earlier, 3 torpedoes had been racing through this same water. 3 weapons capable of crippling the largest warship ever built. Now, the ocean looks peaceful again, but everyone aboard the carrier knows how close the moment had been. Below deck, damage control teams conduct rapid system checks. Propulsion shafts remain stable, rudder response normal, hull integrity uncompromised. The carrier has taken no damage. Around the massive ship, the escorting destroyers gradually return to their defensive positions. The cruiser resumes its station behind the carrier. Helicopters begin returning to their decks, one at a time. On the tactical display inside the combat center, the strike group's formation slowly stabilizes again. But the sonar search continues. 15 minutes pass, then 20. Still nothing. Finally, the sonar supervisor removes his headset and turns toward the commander. No additional contacts detected. The commander nods once, secure from immediate threat. Across the carrier, the intensity that had gripped the crew begins to ease slightly. But the lessons of the attack remain clear. The entire engagement lasted less than 10 minutes. From the first torpedo launch to the final submarine destruction, the battle unfolded at terrifying speed. Every system in the strike group had been tested. Sonar operators detected the threat. Destroyers deployed countermeasures. Helicopters hunted beneath the surface. Interceptors destroyed incoming torpedoes. Layer by layer, the strike group's defenses worked exactly as designed, without hesitation, without delay. Back in the sonar room, the technician scrolls through the recorded acoustic data from the engagement. 3 launch signatures, 3 torpedo tracks, 3 submarine contacts, all gone now. Outside the ship, the aircraft carrier continues moving across the open ocean. Its massive hull cuts steadily through the water, leaving a long white wake stretching behind it. From a distance, the strike group looks calm again, orderly, unchanged. But beneath the surface of the sea, the remains of 3 submarines now rest on the ocean floor. Their ambush lasted only minutes. The strike group survived without a single ship damaged, and the aircraft carrier, the primary target of the entire attack, never even slowed down. This is what happens when submarines attack a U.S. Navy carrier strike group. This is what $750 billion in annual U.S. military budget delivers. This is why Pentagon strategy emphasizes layered defense systems, multi-platform coordination, and technological superiority. 3 submarines tried, 3 submarines failed. The carrier sailed on. If this breakdown showed you something the news won't cover, subscribe now. We analyze real U.S. Navy operations, defense contractor technology, and national security strategy every single week. Because understanding how the U.S. military actually operates changes everything.